Yeah, it looks like we're up and running after 14 seconds. Great. Welcome as you come in, everybody. This is just a quick little reminder about what's going on today. I think most of you probably know. And so I thought I should at least mention it as a part of a responsibility, I guess, more than anything else. So, again, welcome as you come in. Today is June 24th, 2022. And of course, I'm Roy Potter, and I welcome that you're here. Two things have happened this week. I mean, we could talk about the defeats of the Ukrainian army, which is really the defeat of the United States and the EU and the world order, at least in Ukraine. That part of this entire thing that's going on. Uh, I think if you're listening to Colonel McGregor and some of the other experts that I've given you in the past, you will realize that the United States is not the mighty arsenal for democracy and standing for right uh, in the world today. It's just not, and it hasn't been for a long time. And I've been ridiculed by even some of my colleagues saying that I'm denying my oath of office because I'm saying that the United States, as it's presently constituted, I'm not talking about the Constitution. The administrations, which we've seen for the last 40, 50, 60 years, and even before that, we could go back all the way to the Civil War, has really been a detriment to the people, not only of the United States, but of the world, and is evil. It's evil to the core. Again, not that its principles are evil or bad, but that because those principles were not properly executed in more ways than one, read between the lines, and properly enforced, the people being the final arbiter of their liberties and of the Constitution. Because that has not happened, we're in the situation we are today. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on that, other than to say that the United States is going down, even with some of the better things that are happening this week. So I thought I should come on and just mention, of course, as most of you know by now, the New York anti-gun law preventing issuance of permits or even carrying was overturned by the Supreme Court, and so now nationwide, states are required to issue. It's a shall carry, shall issue situation. So they have to prove that you're a criminal. They can't just deny you on the basis of a need that they want you to fulfill. Now, with the Congress continuing to go forward with their anti-gun agenda, this battle is long before it's over. And I suspect that things will fall apart quite early, probably within the next few months, because the leftist Marxists don't want to see these gains made. But I have another comment on that I'm going to make in a few minutes. So that was the first thing that happened. That got them upset, the leftist Marxists and a lot of rhinos, people like Mitt Romney, whose guts I think should be fed to the birds. But regardless, the other thing that's happened, of course, was this morning. Yeah, that's just what I'm going to mention here. Roe versus Wade, we knew it was coming, at least that was the indication because of the leak. And in fact, the court issued it this morning. It has been overturned. That means that Moloch and all of his minions are very upset right at the moment and don't believe that they aren't, because they are. This was their sacrifice to the god for their not just so-called women's rights, because that's almost counterproductive. We see how they really think about women's rights, allowing males to enter sports, all that kind of stuff that females do. It's all a sham. It's all really to break down the male-female relationship, as I have been warning about for a very long time, and why I'm such a stickler on that, and why we need to get back to those male and female relationships. Better that they be made in small ways of error rather than not made at all. But today's not the day to go into that. I've covered all of that in the past quite a bit. So at any rate, these two things have happened, and you can bet, as a lot of people are warning, that there are going to be some really violent kickbacks on this, especially around churches, right to life clinics, supporters of right to life, those types of things. There's going to be a lot of kickback on this. And of course, the FBI will do nothing. They're only out to politically come after those who are not for the leftist Marxist agenda. As Ray says, and as the DHS says, and as Biden says, white supremacists are the biggest terrorist threat in the United States. Yeah, right. Yeah, we see plenty of evidence of that. What they're afraid of course, like I've said before, is that we will wake up and take retribution on them. And so they're trying to stop that. They're trying to plant in our minds that any kind of resistance to them is against the law and evil and domestic terrorism. They're setting that up in our minds to try to prevent us from taking the action if it becomes necessary. So I just be aware of that. I'm sure most of you are, but I suspect that we're going to see I don't know what's happening outside the Supreme Court right now, but I suspect that it's probably not violent yet, but it probably will be. But I might be mistaken. I'm not watching TV. I never do that. I get my information elsewhere, as you know. Now, I haven't been on because we're on our family reunion. Plus, I've been traveling, doing some other things, and I probably will be for another week. Not the reunion, but the traveling and getting some other things done. So I may not have time to come on. The connection here is really bad. I was going to have my son come on. He's here, Jeremy. We were going to talk about Psalms 82 and Psalms 89 for those of you who want that. And I'm going to mention a little bit of that here, but I didn't want to try to do a live stream and have it interrupted like this one will probably be, because the internet connection here is not really good. So, yeah, you could do all kinds of number games with that Southern Prepper. Very good. I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to get into that today. But at this point in time, the war is still going on, as people are mentioning the GMI, the push to do our youngsters with those things. Hi, Felicia, how you doing? I suspect that, I don't want to say that the wins that we've had this week are not wins. They are. But as Felicia has kind of pointed out here, and I believe this is the case, I cannot believe that they aren't just giving us this win, these two wins, simply because they're finally following the Constitution and morality. I can't believe that. I do have a suspicion that it's to divide the country and to make it more dangerous. Now, would that mean that I wouldn't want them to rule on it? They have? No, that's not what I'm saying, and I don't want you to think that. What I'm saying is that I don't trust any of those people in D.C., okay? I just don't. They're all on the same page, and they play these little games, and I am a little concerned that they know what this will do, and that's why they decided to do it now, the hot summer, all that kind of thing. It wouldn't surprise me at all. So regardless of how you feel about these decisions that the Supreme Court has made, whether you're happy or not, the fact is it looks like, I'm pretty sure it will, ignite some very serious, violent reactions. So you've got to stay alert, and you've got to be aware of your surroundings, situational awareness, and I know you all know that. Stay away from crowds, especially around those areas I was telling you. If you try to go help a church or a pro-life organization or whatever, and you do anything to, like I said, protect them, taking some action, trust that the people that are doing the violence aren't going to be arrested. You are. So you're going to have to use some wisdom here. You're going to have to stand for right, but don't walk into traps, okay? There are going to be a lot of them. Just like we saw in Oregon, people trying to protect themselves up there back in 2018, 1920, and then ended up in prison for protecting themselves or others. You remember the Rittenhouse case, et cetera, which of course happened in Minnesota or Wisconsin, I forget which right now. If your state is already a shall issue state or is a constitutional carry state, as both the states that I pretty much stay in, Utah and Wyoming, you better you make sure that you're armed, okay? Make sure that you're armed, especially if you're known as, Mitt is despicable, he always has been. Make sure you're armed at all times, and just make sure that you're keeping your situational awareness on high, okay? All right. Well, like I said, I didn't want to take up too much time. I waited until David Knight was over with his program. Like I told you some time ago, I don't care about Alex Jones anymore. Not that he's not probably saying some good things. I just don't want to put up with him any longer. Not allowed at my job. Well, they can't. The corporations can still do some things. This is about state and local governments issuing their edicts. But if you get hurt on your job because they won't let you arm yourself, sue the shit out of them. Okay? Do that. I think there's already some case law on that. So just look into it. I'm not telling you to violate your company rules, but by the same token, if they're not going to let you defend yourself and you get hurt or somebody around you gets hurt that you could help, I'm not sure what your cause of action or if you would have standing in a situation like that, but I think it's uh, I think it's a possibility that you could probably sue the crap out of them. And you might want to do some preemptive legal work with them as well. Warn them that they're going against your constitutional rights. When I went through my deals many years ago, I had companies that came right out and told me I couldn't believe in or conduct myself according to my First Amendment rights. And they caused me a lot of trouble. Some of them, made it so they could either fire me, which luckily I was able to avoid, except for Murray Police Department. But it's a nasty place out there because the corporations are all run by Moloch and Lucifer. I think most everybody knows that now. Okay, so anyway, the point is these two decisions have come down this week, and it looks like they're a win. But and I'm not going to degrade that, but just be aware that they probably figure it's going to divide this country even more, and maybe rightly so. I've said for a long time that the wheat and the tares have to be divided, and if this is how it's going to be done, so be it. But just be aware that their motivations may not be what yours are. Okay, their motivations might be quite a bit different. I would hope that they're doing it for the right reason, moral reasons, legal reasons, constitutional reasons, but I don't have a lot of faith in them. And until the country turns around and the people as a whole start to repent, which I have kind of lost faith in at this point. Again, not that the form of government that we have that's supposed to be here, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and its foundation documents like the Declaration of Independence. Not that there's anything wrong there, but that it never had the teeth to enforce it against the real traitors within what I call our wire. That's our country inside our borders. So, pardon me, there's that. And I might also add that I am going to cover, I might, it depends on what my son wants to do. We were really disappointed yesterday. We lost the internet completely. I was going to do it last night, and then found out it just wasn't, it was fading out. But we're going to do, at least I will do, sometime in the near future, a little more in-depth discussion of Son of Man, Son of Adam, Son of God. Felicia has done that on her channel, has done a very good job. I think there were a couple back a month or so ago where she got into some detail, especially in Ezekiel. And what you will find out, what Ezekiel means in the Hebrew is kind of interesting. So I'll probably get into that. I'm not sure when. But at any rate, if you're interested in that study, I'll just say one thing here, maybe two, and then let you all go. The first is there's a question as to, and I brought it up in one of my videos, why the words Ben Adam were not always used, or that they should be when they're talking about the Son of Man. And that if they're talking about just men in general, which Adam can be used as, but when you're talking about people like Ezekiel and Jesus and people like that, I think there's a more important connotation there, and I've alluded to that before. So what happened in Daniel is, if you read it, the first three chapters approximately are written in Hebrew, then 3 to 7 are written in Aramaic, and then it switches back to Hebrew. Now, there are a lot of postulations as to why that happened. It could have been that there were different writers, whatever, or it could have been that the writer, if there was a single writer, although it doesn't look that way, but if there was a single writer, that there was a message there when he switched to Aramaic. Very similar to what I talked about before with the change in the spelling of Cyrus, Koresh, king of Persia, in Isaiah, how that was changed with a vav, added a vav, and Isaiah knew how to spell it, so why did he do that? Well, there may be an underlying reason for the change in Ezekiel to this Aramaic, or, Daniel rather, this change to Aramaic. And so I might get into that for those who are interested. And if I can get a good connection here, my son and I might still do the tie into that, which is Psalms 82 and Psalms 89. He's practically an expert on it, probably more so than I am. So I just thought I'd mention those things. And then the last thing that I guess I'll say is that I want you to think about this. Think about what Jesus said, or is purported to have said, and I believe this one, that he has done nothing, that he does nothing save what he has seen the Father do. Now, there are a lot of other translations on that which they try to make it say, oh, Jesus does the things that God tells him to or puts it in his mind to do. But no, I think he meant it exactly as it is in the King James Version, that he has done nothing and he does nothing but what he has seen the Father do. Well, since Jesus did a lot of things in a physical form, what does that mean? I just want you to ponder that because there's something very important there that's going on. Think about what he did. Liken the church, and I of course maintain that the person you know as Jesus had to be married, because if he hadn't, he would have violated the first and most important commandment. But I'm not going to get into that argument here. All I'll say is if you want to look at it as being the church as the bride of Christ, that's fine. What did he do? He took the sins of Christ, sins of the bride upon himself, right? To bring that bride back to him. Well, think about this, okay? In the Garden of Eden, Eve goes and gets basically deceived, and she partakes of something that she's not supposed to. And she comes to Adam, and Adam looks at it and says, "Oh, well, wow, you're going down. You're my bride, but I've got to save you. I'll save my bride." As I've talked about it long before, it's the greatest love story ever told, even more so than Jesus and his bride, right? And what this individual does is this Adam in Genesis 3 there. People try to denigrate Adam that he bowed down to his wife and submitted to her error, and that then he tried to scapegoat when God said, "What is this that you have done?" And the response that's in the third chapter of Genesis there by Adam is, "Well, the woman that you gave to me gave me the fruit, and yeah, I ate it." People try to say that Adam was trying to scapegoat and blame Eve for his decision. Ladies and gentlemen, that's not what he was doing at all. He took consciously, he took Eve's sin upon himself, just like Jesus was taking your sins upon you. So, Jesus saying, "I do nothing but what I have seen my Father do," might want to reconsider Adam's actions in the Garden of Eden. And we'll get into that even more later. So that's all I've got today. It's already been 3 minutes. Stay alert. Like I said, this is a catch-22. It's a good thing, moral, correct, legal, constitutional decision on both the New York gun law situation and Roe versus Wade. However, I smell a rat at the same time. I don't trust the feds, either one. And it might be, I've said for a long time that there is a war going on in the government. And it's supposed to be that way between the branches, okay? The branches of government are supposed to oppose each other. But, I'd just be wary about what's going on here. Keep your situational awareness on high. Make sure that you have your head in the right spot in reality and not in wishful thinking. And this is going to get tougher. This is going to be a big fight, no matter how they've tried to set up the battlefield, okay? It's going to be a big fight. All right, and probably get to Ukraine later. As I said, Ukraine is going down, and it's been the proxy war. And a lot of them have. Of course, we failed in Afghanistan. We basically failed in Iraq. We failed in Syria, all because of it's about money. They don't care if they waste lives and equipment and weapons because it's all about feeding the military congressional security intelligence complex. Industrial complex. That's what it's about. So, and you are the engine that drives that, and you have to start saying no. And how do you say no? It's dangerous, but you have to say no. Okay. All right. You all take care. That's all I wanted to say today. I am grateful that these decisions have come down, but we haven't seen the end of this yet, and they might be manipulating us. So just keep that under your hat and consider the possibilities. Be thankful, but at the same time, be wary, okay? All right, you all take care. I'm out here.